Hey guys, it's Ben here from the Pride of Villa, and the transfer window is officially open. That's right, Villa are now able to make even more signings now and get them straight into the club. We've already completed 4. Who else is going to be coming in? We don't bloody know because it's so exciting. However, we're going to look on the flip side of things and see who needs to be leaving Aston Villa this summer, who needs to get moved on, who needs to be freed up on the wage bill so we can reinvest in those players later on. So if you all enjoy this video, please leave a like, obviously subscribe to the channel. Let's push on up. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. How mad is that to say? Check out the social pages. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so obviously Aston Villa have completed 4 signings already. Philippe Coutinho, Bukayo Kamara, Diogo Carlos and Robin Olsen. 4 great signings for Steven Gerrard going ahead next season. There's obviously still room to be improved on. Apparently still another striker, someone else in midfield and potentially another left back for cover for Digne. But we've also got to consider the flip side of things. You know, there's players that have already gone. There's players that have been linked with a move, and there's also players that I think personally Villa should look to try and get off the books. So firstly, we're going to look at the release list for Aston Villa because this was, as of recording, published today, and one very particularly interesting name. So I'm just going to rattle through the academy players. We've got Tristan Goodridge, Paul Apai, Mungo Bridge, Akos Anodi, Dominic Revan and Finlay Thorndike. You know, I've seen Mungo Bridge. I thought he was okay, but reports are saying that he just wasn't progressing at the hype that was brought around him. Dominic Revan, I think, is a really disappointing one. Obviously, captained Villa when they played against Liverpool in the FA Cup. Obviously, an FA Cup youth winner as well. So it's a bit of a shame. Akos Anodi, I know a lot of people were praising him. I think he went to Brom's Grove Sporting something. So potentially a bit of a future there. But they're mostly academy players. Obviously, the main 2 here, we already knew Conor Hourihane was going. His contract's now come to an end, and ultimately he's been released from Aston Villa. 151 games, 29 goals and 23 assists. Massively crucial in the Championship. You know, a player that I think ultimately is a much beloved fan favourite. Somebody that's not really gotten the recognition that he perhaps deserves. But ultimately he lost throughout the seasons. He just didn't really have the quality needed for the Premier League, and ultimately saw himself zoned out of the group. Now the next one, and the big one on this list, is not 100% confirmed because Villa have not put this out themselves. They've done one for Conor Hourihane, but nothing's been done for Ashley Young yet. Now obviously he was only signed on a 1-year contract. The reports were suggesting that he was going to be signed a contract extension. However, on that list, Ashley Young is listed. Now, in this case, if he was to be offered a contract or work through one, it would be specified. But because it hasn't, it is purely come down as to it being a release, which is surprisingly interesting, you know. Obviously, 25 games in this season, 0 goals and 2 assists, so statistically, didn't really make a breakthrough. I don't think ultimately he had the impact people are hoping for, but considering his age and, you know, the position that he's playing at all of this season, which has been at left back, sometimes playing out wide and left, he's not really, you know, it's easy to say we missed the first time we had Ashley Young, but he was never going to be that, was he? Ultimately, experience-wise, I think that's the whole point and why Villa kept him, and I don't understand, or I'm hoping at least we are going to keep him, because I think ultimately he's a player that's going to probably perhaps retire in the next year or 2. Get him into management, perfect way to do it. Give him that 1 more contract extension, build the changing room, especially with these new players as well. But as I said, not 100% confirmed yet, so if something does changes, we will update it. But for now, Ashley Young is probably not going to be at the club. So now we're going to look at players who have already left or need to leave Aston Villa. These are personally my choices. I'm not saying that a lot of Villa fans would agree with these ones or whatever. These are the ones that I think Villa need to capitalise on if they want to strategically find a net spin in the market. Try and find a positive out of it. Firstly then, Matt Targett, he's gone to Newcastle United. Obviously he joined on loan in January following the signing of Luca Digne. He's gone for £15 million, which is £3 million from the loan fee plus a £12 million permanent transfer clause, I think it was. I think it's ultimately £2 million profit from when we signed him, so ultimately Villa have done a bit of smart business there. But ultimately, it's a player that needed to move on. Clearly somebody who didn't win the competition, which is ludicrous to think, considering following this season, he was our player of the year last year. You know, he was absolutely brilliant last season. I don't really know what's gone wrong. Perhaps Grealish going, he's lost that connection there. It just looks so much slower and defensively. 89 games for us, 3 goals and 5 assists. Obviously got that last minute winner against Brighton in the first year. I'm trying to think what else he scores. Obviously scored Crystal Palace this year. I can't remember the other one. But times he's shown how good he is, and I think ultimately for the money that we had got from him and from what we did see, we had perhaps gotten as much as we can out of him. And if he thinks he's going to get it a greener option, according to what he's been saying, at Newcastle United, then best for him. But ultimately he will probably be on the chopping block or looking for a move away within the next year, considering the money that Newcastle have. Next up, Trezeguet. Oh, bloody hell, why he's not gone yet already, I have no idea. He's been linked with Trabzonspor from Fabrizio Romano, so you know that's truthful. 64 games, 9 goals and 5 assists. I know a lot of people actually like Trezeguet in the sense of the memories he's created, and I thought ultimately that's what he is. He's a moments player. Obviously scoring the 2 goals at the Fulham game when we ultimately won 3-1 last season. Scoring against Arsenal to help us in that relegation fight, and also the Leicester City winner to go into the Carabao Cup final. But for me, he's rubbish. He's absolutely rubbish. I think his career at Villa is defined by that dive attempt at Brentford away. He's rubbish. He's not really lived up to the hype, and hopefully this is one we can just get done really quickly. 5 million perhaps, whatever. Try and at least recuperate some costs, because ultimately he's not worth that much. He's not really that good. So just get him straight out the door and let's just move on from him. Jed Steele, I think, needs to go. I know he's recuperating from an injury, so I think at least with that, Villa need to, keep him on the books, let him have that time to recuperate with the medical team. But ultimately, he's going to move on. Olsen now being signed. That's Olsen, Emi Martinez, and I think Solanso is going to be that third keeper that will be developing through. Bertrand Traore, obviously signed from, I want to say it's Lyon. Last season, I said it more was going to be a player that will turn heads that year, and I think ultimately, apart from the odd moment here or there, I know Newcastle, Chelsea, he looked quite good. West Bromers, he had a really great goal there. He's not really kicked on, and especially this season, massively hit by injuries. He's so inconsistent, and most of the time just poor. Incredibly one-footed, so you can't really play to his strengths because he's always going to try and cut in and go on his left foot, and it's just incredibly hard to watch him at times. And as I said, he's a moments player. He's not really someone who's technically massively gifted or somebody that's going to burst out wide, because he's a wide player. He's not really got the quality that we need, and I think he's cost us 19 million. I think we just sell him for 19 million, try and recuperate the fee, and hopefully we can go again out wide. So we've got Buendia, Philippe Coutinho. We've also got Watkins if needs be. Perhaps there is some depth out there as well. Kane Davis then, it's a shame with Davis. I think 4 years ago maybe he looked like the dogs, but it's just not really kicked on, has it? He just doesn't score. He hasn't scored enough goals for us. At Forest, however, he's had a massive redevelopment, scored quite a few, found that confidence back, and I think he's ultimately the perfect fit for them, considering they're coming up to the Premier League this season. They're going to need somebody like him at 24 years of age as well. Still so much room to grow. He only cost us 4 million, sell him on for 15 million. He's an English striker, 24 years of age, so there's plenty of room to develop there. They're going to want to have somebody bullying up front if they're going to think that Lewis Graben and Lyle Taylor are possible options. Kane Davis has that bit of experience in the game, so he'll know what he's doing. And ultimately, this is just one that I wish him the best for. I like Forest as a team. I think Kane Davis is ultimately, although he's not scored many goals, I think he's somebody that the Villa community has been able to get behind. But I think it's time to cash in and out. But who knows, because Gerard Howe's always talked about him being in the plans. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. If the offer is there, if it's possible to recuperate enough money, I would cash in on Danny Ings. Obviously joining from Southampton last season, completely out of the nowhere buy from Villa. Our only really strikers that we had was Ollie Watkins, Kane Davis, or Wesley, considering how injured Wesley was. Davis going out on loan at some point. Our only real striker was Ollie Watkins, and the plan was to play the two of them up front. It's not massively worked out at all. I think he's only scored 6 or 7 goals for Aston Villa. He cost us 25 million as well. It's big money for a 30-year-old who's signed a 3-year deal as well. If the offer can come in, I would just let him off the books, because it's so many missed chances. considering him and Watkins have both been poor this season, we need a bit of a more ruthless finisher in front of goal, and I don't think either of them are going to be on it. And considering Danny Ings' age as well, the chances are he's going to be released on a free anyway once his contract runs out. You might as well cash in now, considering Brighton are looking for a striker. Perfectly same. I'll try and get that 25 million back because there is still some quality in him. I just think it's just not worked out for him in the Midlands. The signing of Boubacar Kamara has led to some speculation. We've got quite a few midfielders in that position. I know one of them doesn't technically play in that position, but he has been. Either Douglas Luiz or Marvelous Nakamba. Now, Luiz has been massively floated around with a move away. I know he wasn't looking to sign a contract. The club massively value him for 25 plus million, considering how much development he has grown since first signing. And then also Roma have been massively looking for the hunt of him. Mourinho has been a huge admirer of him as well. I think if potentially that offer can be met, because, I mean, really and truthfully, I think what's going to happen is, I think Nakamba might get offloaded if the offer does come in. I think Luiz will finally be pushed back into playing the centre of midfield and leaving Boubacar and perhaps Tim Irogobon to develop in those positions there. I think that's the much more better option. So really in this one, Nakamba only valued at 10 million, Luiz valued at 25, but ultimately I think we would be able to recuperate a bit more of a profit from both those players. But I think ultimately if one had to go, I would have to say Nakamba, unfortunately. I think Luiz, considering his age as well, there's still time to grow. I'd like to see him, especially towards the latter games of the season, we saw him be pushed up more, how much more creative and free he looked when he was moving through the field. I think that's a much better option. I think Marvelous Nakamba would perhaps really hit the wall with him, and he's not really going to get any more game time. So leave in the comments down below who you would get rid of if you had to choose between one of them. Would you like to see Douglas Luiz given a chance in midfield, or would you like to see Nakamba perhaps phased out of the club for Boubacar Kamara? Now, next up, I'm going to look at more loans for this one rather than just a permanent transfer, because there's two here that I think really could benefit from a loan. Obviously, the biggest conundrum in Villa transfers and players, Morgan Sanson. What has bloody happened here? Massively rated by Dean Smith when he was brought in the January window. Only played a few games, got injured, and ultimately these last 18 months have been incredibly underwhelming for him. There was glimmers that he could thrive under Gerrard. That doesn't even look like it's happening. Reports are saying he's going to be having a meeting with Gerrard regarding his future, and it's currently unknown, but it's probably more than likely going to be a transfer away, which I think ultimately is the right move for him, because he deserves his minutes. I think there is still so much quality with Morgan Sanson, but he's not getting a fair chance at it. And I actually think we could end up waiting too long to see that. So in my eyes here, as I said, I do think there is still quality there, and I would like to consider, if we're not going to sign a midfielder, a number 8 midfielder this season, I would send Morgan Sanson out on season-long loan to Marseille. Now, it's a player and a club that obviously he came from, so he's going to be familiar there, but it's ultimately to reignite that hunger in the game of him. You know, he's going to understand the league much better there because he's been playing there for a bloody time now. Let him get back to the use of the pace of the game, give him those regular minutes, show the quality so he can say to Gerrard, this is what you're missing, you're either going to bring me in, or if that doesn't work out, insert that clause in there so that at least Marseille can trigger it, because I know Marseille weren't happy when he sold us to us, but yeah, that idea of recuperating back, but just giving him minutes because he deserves so many more opportunities that he gets at Aston Villa. He is still a talented player. We just haven't seen enough here, and I think a loan's a very good option for Morgan Sanson. Courtney House. Now, this is another player that's also reportedly requesting minutes away. Another situation where the player of Diego Carlos has been signed. Is more than likely going to be the starting centre half alongside either Mings or Chambers now, which means 5 centre halves in the club. One of them's got to drop, and it's going to be Courtney House. He's already said he wants minutes away and wants to explore possible new opportunity elsewhere. I think it's another time to give him those minutes. So again, I'm going to say send him on loan. You know, there's no point, because I mean, House has shown quality this season. You know, I mean, his best game, Manchester United away, scoring that winner, but also his physical presence on the pitch, how physically imposing he is compared to other centre halves. He knows what he's doing. There's a sense of calm and not worrying when we see him play. And I think he's more better suited to a team like Forest or Bournemouth that's come up from Championship. But also, especially Bournemouth, considering they just released Gary Cahill, they're going to want to strengthen in that centre-half area. Courtney House has experience in the Premier. He's played there for many games now. Give him a chance and let him then consider the possible option. Or even Forest as well. Join it with Keenan. Have that development so he doesn't have to travel so far, especially only to Nottingham. He can really develop himself there and re-find his passion for football and ultimately see if this is the possible avenue for him. Carney, Chukwuemeka, what do we do with him? He's approaching that last year of his contract. It's already been reported that he's not signing a contract, but the contract offers he's been given has not pleased him as such. He also reportedly feels that he's much more deserving of first team opportunities elsewhere and can break through with the Arsenal links from Dortmund, Barcelona and Manchester United. I haven't been impressed by Chukwuemeka. I've not been impressed by him at all. I haven't seen... Admittedly, it's his first season, and it was the same case with Jacob Ramsey, but at least with Ramsey, you could see some bit of quality there, and he was actually be given the opportunity to try again. And, you know, he's thrived this season. He's massively overachieved for himself. But Chukwuemeka just doesn't look like it. I just don't see... You know, the contribution that he makes onto the pitch are the same contributions that Jacob Ramsey makes. I'm not seeing this idea that he can break through into Dortmund. He's clearly seen Jude Bellingham and thought, he's a player that's gone over from obscurity and become something. I can do the same. And I don't think he can do the same. I just don't see any qualities that are showing us why not only we should be keeping him, considering we signed him only like last season, but ultimately why we should be penning him down to a contract. So in my opinion, I'd just move him on. If he's not, you know what I mean? Obviously, if he's going to sign a contract, I'd still keep him on. Because you never know. It could just have been one of those seasons. But considering the way he's going, considering what we have, by the time we could end up waiting for him to come through, we could just be better off cashing in. We could also just be better off leaving and go. Because we could end up signing some other youngster that could break through. You know, and really give us what we need going forward. And I just don't think Chukwuemeka could potentially offer that here. Considering he's going to be in the last year of his contract as well, ideally cashing in would be much better now, otherwise letting him go on a free. It's not really smart business. And considering how young he is as well, you can get some money from him that we could reinvest into somebody elsewhere. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below who you think needs to be moved on. Do you agree with any of my picks? And make sure as well you tell me, what do you think about Chukwuemeka? Does he need to be moved on, or should he sign a new contract? You can tell us on our social pages as well. But without further ado, I've been Ben, up the Villa with the pride of Villa. We'll see you later, boys.